Coming up, is the USA Network already disappointed with NXT 2.0? A WWE commentator shoots on the Saudi shows, and a former WWE star begs for their job back. So subscribe to WrestleTalk if you haven't already, because we've got daily news to keep you up to date in the goings-on in-ring, in Gorilla and backstage, but also because Ollie Davis will send you a lock of his brand new hair in the post if you do. You just got to ask him about it on Twitter. He actually never checks his Twitter, so he's going to be like, what the hell? But in 5 months' time.
Support WrestleTalk!
On to the news, and the multicolored unicorn version of NXT, otherwise known as NXT 2.0, is a couple of weeks into its lifespan, bravely setting out to promote newer, younger talent in singlets and bring in a younger demographic to the product, which has traditionally skewed slightly older than that golden 18 to 49 demographic. Well, according to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, this week's episode did not do that. He reported that the median age of viewers for this week was 62 years old. Now, Thurston pointed out that the median number going up doesn't mean that the number of 50 plus viewers has increased. That number is apparently very stable. It instead means that the youngest end of the spectrum has likely risen, indicating that the younger viewers that WWE wanted to court with this revised product might actually just be switching off. Interestingly, Brandon also noted that less women in the 18 to 49 demo are also watching the product now that it focuses on great big slabs of meat. Who would have thunk it? Following on from this, Andrew Zarian decided to contact a source at the USA Network to get the inside scoop on how they viewed this dip. He said his source said, "This is all to bring in a new, younger viewer who is connected with pop culture and trends. Needless to say, the demo numbers are disappointing, but we are hopeful this is just a bump in the road." I feel very old all of a sudden, and I didn't like last week. I feel very old now. Hopefully no new flavor NXT can stay the course and does begin to bring in the younger eyes it so desperately wants. Otherwise, I guess we just really quickly do NXT 3.0. And NXT 3.0 would just be the old NXT again, going back to the well, eh? Speaking of going back to the well, look who's come crawling back. Because one WWE star released during the company's glut of firings recently was Braun Strowman, which came as a surprise to many as he'd been recently featured in plenty of high-profile storylines, especially during the pandemic. Now, since his release, Strowman has wrestled EC3 for the Control the Narrative promotion, but hasn't actually signed with any new promotion yet. Now, Ringside News are reporting that Strowman keeps trying to get his job back with WWE, but they currently have no interest in signing him, which I think understandably must be a really tough position to find yourself in when you are kind of the archetypical WWE wrestler, and you've just seen that they've just rebranded a show to focus on big dudes. There's no dudes bigger. Maybe Omos is bigger. And that's probably even more frustrating considering the seemingly arbitrary nature of the cuts, as there are other stars in the company reportedly unhappy with their booking and looking to leave. We spoke about this a few weeks back, but Gran Metalik of Lucha House Party was said to have asked for his WWE release, but the King of the Ropes is currently tied up in a contract. And do you see what I did there? Now, Insider has confirmed that Metalik not only asked for his release, but both he and tag partner Lince Dorado have been spotted at television tapings waiting to speak with higher-ups about their unhappiness with their current booking. Before we move on, we need to thank the British Bulldog, Philip Boy J. Smith Jr. and fantastic Mr. Good Old Fox for their support on Patreon. Thank you so much. Now, someone quite happy with his current WWE booking is SmackDown commentator Pat McAfee, who is dead pleased that he doesn't have to go to Saudi Arabia to commentate on Crown Jewel. Speaking on the Pat McAfee show, he said, "Yeah, WWE is heading over there. I wasn't invited. It's a real shame. Good luck. I'm not going to be part of that. Hey, listen, I'm not supposed to be part of that. I'm happy I'm not going or whatever, but I don't know how that whole thing plays out 10 years, 20 years from now looking back on it. But the shows, everybody said it is insane over there. It's awesome until they get stuck there, and then I got to call Buffalo SmackDown." Pat obviously was referencing the infamous incident in which the plane full of WWE stars was stranded at the airport following Crown Jewel 2019 after a reported dispute with Saudi authorities. So SmackDown ended up featuring a lot of NXT talent, and Pat McAfee was flown into Buffalo to provide commentary. It was a very good episode of SmackDown, but clearly quite a harrowing experience for the people who'd gone out to Saudi Arabia to perform. Which means that Pat's relief at not being on the Saudi Arabia card is kind of understandable then. As likely is his call about how we're going to look back on this 10 to 20 years from now. We don't know how it's going to play out, but it's probably not going to favour WWE. Though I'm not sure that WWE is actually that super worried about the long-term PR implications of working with the Saudi regime because money. How much money? We're going to find out pretty soon as the company have announced their next quarterly earnings call that is going to take place on Thursday the 4th of November. And it's going to be an interesting one as the company have returned to live touring and trimmed a lot of their staff, so we could see some bumper amounts, especially as in the last quarter their revenue increased by 19%. Jeez. Let's hop the barricade and talk AEW for a moment, / more specifically, CM Punk. Punk is obviously well known for speaking his mind when it comes to his relationship to his former wrestling company and has spoken at length about how he feels he should have main evented more as WWE champion and obviously, infamously, aired some shoot/kayfabe grievances in the legendary Pipe Bomb promo. Now, speaking to Sport 1, Punk said that to deliver that promo, he had to sneak a draft past Vince. He said, everything was real. I had to write a draft for Vince and I didn't say anything about what was in that draft. I knew what I was going to say and I knew that I wasn't going beyond certain limits. But what was also clear to me is live TV is a business in which it is easier to get forgiveness afterwards than a permit beforehand. I gave him a wrong draft and had it approved. He said yes, okay, and he was still suggesting that I should make fun of his daughter Stephanie, and then I did something else. But because what I did was good, he wasn't mad. I love this idea that Vince just offers his kids out as like punching bags for the wrestlers. Oh, make fun of Stephanie. I love it when people do that. It's such severely weird dad energy. Now, Punk is obviously the saviour of all of wrestling and produced legitimate tears from Ollie Davis, something that I wasn't sure he was capable of because I think they removed the tear ducts during the hair transplant. Remember to tweet him about the hair. But even Punk's return to wrestling can't stop the ebbs and flows of viewership for the good ship AEW. Because this week's Dynamite's anniversary show drew 1.053 million viewers according to Brandon Thurston, which is the lowest figure since September the 1st and significantly down from last week's 1.152 million viewers. Now, this could be the views stabilizing after a bumper month of shows and reveals. It could be post-pay-per-view fatigue, or maybe it's the fact that no insane dream matches were advertised for this week's show. Who knows? Back to WWE for these last bits of news, and Eddie Guerrero's son, and also Rey Mysterio's son, Dominik Mysterio, has been talking about legacy and his wrestling character. For a while before his debut, it was rumoured that Dominik might be appearing in WWE under the name Prince Mysterio, but instead ended up going by Dominik and not wearing a luchador mask like his father, so more like his father, Eddie. Dom recently guested on the Out of Character podcast with Ryan Satin and spoke about living up to the legacy, saying his father Ray has left him some pretty big shoes to fill. Not literal big shoes to fill, and he wants to try to live up to the Mysterio name. But not just live up to it, eventually inhabit it, own it. As he said, the long goal, the end game, is to eventually take over the Rey Mysterio name. That's the legacy within it. He's Rey Mysterio. It's only right to make it junior. Traditional lucha culture and Hispanic culture, that's tradition. That's what you do. I kind of showed up and Dom Mysterio just organically happened. Everything happened so fast. We didn't get a chance to put these little things together, but we've definitely talked about it. He's mentioned it before. The mask is something that I have to earn along with the name. So one day, if he wants to pass it on to me after he retires, or wants to make me earn it after he retires, whatever it is, I'm up for it. Dominik versus Rey retirement match for the mask. I'm into it. I like it. Speaking of luchadors and legacy, Legado del Fantasma have a big opportunity when Santos Escobar goes up against Isaiah Swerve Scott for the North American title next week on NXT following Hit Row's main roster call-up. While it's likely that Santos will be securing his second NXT belt, the faction leader already has his eye on the next move. Speaking with Pro Wrestling for Life, he said that, do I still need to do more on NXT? While they keep me there, I'll take everything that they put in front of me. Should they bring all of us to SmackDown, we'll be ready. We're not only ready, we're hungry. We have a mentality of business. Right now, we've got a lot going on in NXT, but should that happen, there's something I want to do, and that is work with Rey. I know it's probably a cliche to work with Rey, but it's important to me. I call myself the Emperor of Lucha Libre. He would love to work with me as well. I know it. Santos previously worked with Rey in Lucha Underground and around Mexico, but seeing them together on a WWE stage, oh, c'est magnifique. I think that's the Spanish. Speaking of, I think that's Karrion Kross's ring gear. I think that's sex thing? It's a sex thing, isn't it? I don't know. Anywho, back on the August 23rd edition of Raw, Karrion Kross debuted new ring gear with this helmet and these straps, looking like someone who's gone to Torture Garden as one of the Masters of the Universe. Him man. Talking with Table Talk, Kross clarified the inspiration for the new gear, stating, "I'm not entirely sure at this point. I have received a briefing about, I guess it was a creative team conversation. A series of people attempting to expand on the original concept that was presented during NXT. I guess it was a team of people. The direction I think they were attempting to go in was essentially a gladiator idea. I had introduced the lower body gear at NXT when I competed against Finn Balor to get my title back. My original concept was like, this feels like what the Coliseum days would be like. We're in a circular area with people all around." I think the most shocking thing about all of this is that took a team of people to come up with.
Positively vibrating at this.
I can
because
feel it.
The first on-set images from the new Transformers film, Rise of the Beast, have been put online on Instagram by Stephen Cable Jr., the director of the film, and they show all of the Autobots, Dan, in their lovely little Generation 1 color schemes and forms. Oh,